Well, hello there. I am with Epic Games Enterprise team. We work with the non-game customers out there. I probably know quite a few of you, actually. I've been working with visualization as Autodesk for 13 years as the 3ds Max product manager. Don't hold that against me. So I've come to Epic to work with AEC customers and helping you figure out all this new real-time technology. So we are the same company, even though I'm here talking about AEC. Fortnite is something that has surprised us, and it's certainly driving a lot of issues. It's testing our ability to get 250 million people to be playing, some tens of millions simultaneously, and it's an open world, it's collaborative, it's optimized for real-time performance on multiple platforms, and I think all of those things are something that AEC can benefit from. And I'm going to show you some examples, starting with this quick show reel of how enterprise customers are using the engine. So what you have to remember about what you're seeing is that it's all rendered in real time. Those are not CG renderings. They don't take 15 minutes per frame. They take 15 milliseconds. So you got to think about how that will change your process when you have access to that kind of imagery, but at real-time rates. And we try to distinguish ourselves by saying we're really helping you build experiences that solve real problems. That's our focus. It's the experience. Yes, we render faster than most solutions out there, but we don't want to be associated just with faster rendering. It's really about the idea of experience, and I think this has a lot of benefit in architecture. We did a survey research with Forrester, and you can see there's a lot of interest in AEC in adoption of real-time processes. So we'll be showing you some more details of that in a minute. We have a vision, and it's really centered on these 5 ideas. One, that we have the scale to deliver a marketplace. So we have enough users, we have the ability to bring together content producers with consumers. And that can set us apart. So you can go to the marketplace and get additional assets that help you achieve whatever you're trying to. The second thing is aggregation. We have bringing together engineering and CAD data together in one place for you to do whatever you need to do with it. So we'll talk a little bit more about our datasmith that helps you do that. One of the things that our engine is based around is this concept of a single asset. You create this single asset once. You can use it to produce stills. You can produce a movie from it. You can build an interactive experience, but you did that asset creation process a single time. Collaboration, that's built in to the engine. It's not an afterthought. It's not a third-party thing you get. When you download Unreal Engine, you have a network-capable experiment there waiting to happen. And we give you a template so that you can just drop your data into that template and start collaborating with someone else. And the final thing is probably one of the biggest. It's an open platform. Our source code is publicly available. You don't have to pay for it. You can see how we're doing these things. You can build anything on top of it. You can integrate anything with it. And there's not many that can say that. So we're going to talk about 5 different ways that real-time is transforming AEC across the architecture pipeline. You have your BIM data and your design data, but how do you leverage that more for your processes? So let's just jump in and take a look at it. We're trying to show you things that maybe are not normally associated with real-time. So one of them is the idea of bringing these real-time techniques directly into the design process, early stage concept design. So we have a partner, Mindesk, and they have created a real-time link between Rhino and the Unreal editor. So you're here in Unreal, and you're talking to Rhino. Rhino's updating as you interact with it and design. So the output of this is a Rhino file, right? This is all happening, dynamic connection to Rhino. So you can see the effect of design using highly realistic lighting, highly realistic surfaces. And this can be a big feedback loop for you and your creativity. Visual communication, the previous presenter was showing a lot of complexity on how that tower was built. So how do you tell that story in a way that stakeholders get it? Often you're talking to people that have limited technical understanding, and showing them blueprints and engineering drawings, they're just not going to get it. And that might be the difference between winning a project or convincing the right stakeholders to get approval. So here, Gilbane Construction, they were going to build a high school on top of an operating railroad line. They could not shut down, they could not stop the trains. So they had to convince stakeholders like that was possible. Now you could do this with traditional CG, but the fact that you could do it in the engine means you have this interactive experience. You can fly around it, you can go anywhere you want. Esri is a partner. They built a free template to bring data from City Engine, their tool, directly into Unreal Engine, and then you can look at different alternatives to buildings within this city context. You can also change the lighting, and then finally you can drop down inside and look at that scale model at 1-to-1 scale. HKS, some of you may be familiar, large architectural firm focused on a lot of sporting events. This is the new Rangers Stadium. This is all based on engineering data. This is brought into Unreal Engine. There's actually 2 stadiums in this scene. It's populated with people. There's 100,000 people in total between the 2 stadiums and wandering around the complex. This, you have to be able to meet these problems where they exist. So the engineering data is massively complex. So we have to be able to bring that in. We have to be able to interact with it. And you have to have the tools to get your story across. This is kind of what we're well known for. I call this perfect pixels. It's the idea of high fidelity renderings, and you probably have seen, you saw some in our show reel already. We just, back in April, released our ray tracing capability, so we're showing it in our booth on a couple laptops. So this is about taking it to the next level. So here, somebody brought together this scene, I think it was a Cinema 4D, brought it into the engine, did their light development there, but they all did this. This is all rendering in real time with ray tracing. So it's no longer kind of this massive, it's no longer this trade-off. When you have this kind of visual quality feeding back into your choices of lighting, your choices of materials, you work so much faster. You're more creative. Here's another scene. This one was done completely in ray tracing. There's no baked lighting here. And again, the visual fidelity can really help you when you're trying to show people what your design is intended to be. Zoen, this is Virtual Helsinki. They work with the Helsinki Tourist Board to bring to life some of the central tourism elements of Helsinki. So they have this, and they have an interior. But you can see the visual detail there and just how real and photographic that is. Once you have those imageries, a lot of people want to use them to sell in real estate or otherwise. So I'm going to show you now how people are applying that. You know, I think it's with a new home construction, new apartments, you're at this big disadvantage. When you go buy a car, you don't look at a brochure and say, oh, I'll just take that one. You could take it for a test drive. So the question is, how can you translate that test drive experience for real estate? So the first is a Spanish firm that's selling real estate in Spain, undeveloped, to people all over Europe. So that's a challenge. So what they've done is they've taken broadcast, the idea of a virtual set, combined it with Unreal Engine, and put the salesperson into the 3D model of the design. So now the salesperson's having this dialogue with the user. Line Creative, they're here with us at the show. This is a typical example of high fidelity configuration. This is a very common problem. I want to show someone the different treatments, but it needs to be of good enough quality so they get the right experience. Olin Planet, Korean company, I love what they've done. It's a huge virtual room. Each of those windows is actually an LCD panel, and they can give customers, they're selling tower apartments, and they can give customers their view outside their apartment. And they can also do the traditional, you know, here's what's available, let's interact with it. So it's a combined, complete configuration and selling system. Rainier is a large Belgium manufacturer of sidings. And what they're using is the customer is going to commit to this large project. They bring all that data together into Unreal, and they put it into what's called a cave. They have a very high-powered, one of the highest-powered caves out there. It's like 14 projectors. They've made a big investment to do it, but they can bring to life that data in a way that's very hard to do, and it can be collaborative. They can get multiple people in there looking at the data. So lots of ideas around how to take the data, how to take it to the next step for the purposes of selling. Digital twins in smart cities. Some of you may be familiar with this. It's the idea of bringing together real-time data, maybe IoT data, sensor data, and having this digital model to interact with it. North Docks is a German firm. For ChemPark, it's a large industrial chemical plant in Germany, and they've created this digital city using photogrammetry and mapped onto it different ways of getting additional information into it. And here it's a fire truck responding to some event. And basically what the idea of a digital twin is, it gives you all this context that might help you solve a problem, you know, or resolve it quicker. You know, if you can understand a fire or something quicker, that can save lives. Chalmers is working on an open platform, open source, for digital twins or smart cities. So they're bringing together all the data. They're going to make it all available for free. They have VR interfaces. They have AR interfaces to it. And it's all based around Unreal Engine. And they can do really interesting things with driving road networks, creating new road networks. And we'll have a new video of them with all their new features soon. So a lot of exciting things going there. From China, 51 VR. They built this digital twin of a new site, and you know, there's all sorts of things going on between the cameras, the image recognition that they do in China, and how to manage this site either from events or from a security perspective. how to look at things like the power plants, engineering plant, and what's going on there. So again, there's just a way of bringing together all this abstract data in a context that will help you solve problems or understand the situation faster. So what makes this all possible? Unreal Engine. So I'm just going to briefly give you some information, some background on that. When you download Unreal Engine, it's free. You get everything. Again, it's the complete package. We're not trying to upsell you or anything. You get Unreal Engine, you have all the tools, and it's free. And there's a lot you can do as I just showed you. Just to reemphasize it, once you create that Unreal asset, use it either for any of those different kinds of applications. You don't have to go through another step. It's basically that asset, once created, can be used in all of those different ways just by reconfiguring how you want to use it. To simplify things for customers in AEC and manufacturing, we created Unreal Studio a year ago, and that brings Datasmith. How many here are using Datasmith? Okay, so a lot of you have already figured out the value. It reads all of your AEC formats, and it brings over the metadata too. So when you bring over Revit, you'll have your Revit metadata. When you bring over your 3ds Max, we actually convert things like V-Ray materials, V-Ray lights, Corona lights, all of that gets converted by Datasmith for your use. So it's an immediate way to get your data into Unreal and get started. And no surprise, we've seen a lot of adoption. So over 275,000 people have registered for Unreal Studio in the year that we've made it available. And CG Architect just recently released their results for their rendering survey. And you can see that we're the #1 choice when it comes to real time by a wide margin. And we're also the #1 choice when people are looking at the future as to what they will be applying. Now, this was a survey of architect visualization specialists. Our challenge is to bring that value to architects and designers who are less technical. They don't have the time to invest in learning a sophisticated tool. So, to solve that problem, a month ago, we acquired Twinmotion. How many of you here have downloaded Twinmotion? Okay, so the deal is, it's free. It's a permanent license until November. It's a tool for presentation. It has real-time dynamic links to ArchiCAD and Revit. So basically, you can keep your data in sync as you move through the design process. And it's really for presentation, dressing up the data. Comes with 2,500. Well, I'll do a little video clip here. So it's really intended to be very easy to use. And this gives you kind of an example of the interface. If you want it to get rainy, you just drag the slider for the weather that you want. If you want snow, you just go to winter, and now you have snow. So the vegetation responds, so you don't have to think this stuff through. It just does what you expect it to do. So hopefully you saw an interface there that was easy for you all to use. Don't take my word for it. just go download it. And we've had, after a month, we've had 100,000 people register for Twinmotion. So clearly, somebody's finding it useful out there. And we're excited because it's now part of the Epic family. And over time, we can do more with both the Unreal Engine that drives Twinmotion and all the new features that we're creating in Unreal Engine itself. Just a couple other things. There's free online learning, and you can see it's targeted at architects. That's for Unreal Studio. We don't have yet Twinmotion, but honestly, you should be able to download Twinmotion and get straight to work. It's that kind of a product. For those of you that want to go further with Unreal Studio or Unreal Engine, we're just making it available for $100. We've discounted our classes in Guilford. So if you grab that or point your phone at it, it'll take you to a link, or just take a picture and go to that website below and check out their classes and their availability. We'll be running that for the entire month of June. I think it actually might go through July. So you have some time, but they do fill up. I think the first session coming up is already full up. So, call to action. Join the real-time revolution. You should be one of those 59% firms that are planning to roll it out. I've relocated to Guilford, so I'm available to come visit, talk you through the process of figuring out how this technology can help you. I have so many more stories that I just don't have time to tell. But if you go to our website, unrealengine.com, you'll find a news thing, and along that is click on architecture, and you'll see a whole bunch more stories. Any questions? Sure.
It's Robert Klashker again, talking about technology, which I normally do this time. I've seen lots and lots of this stuff, and it is amazing, but it's all at the moment focused on visualizing things like they really are. And at the moment, we're in this point, if you look at the World Economic Forum, they're saying that we're all going to turn into, well, I guess in this room we are mostly creatives, but there are going to be more creatives, there's going to be less of the repetitive work that we do. But to do that, we're going to need to be data consumers. And actually, the real win, I think, from platforms like yours is where you start to visualize data rather than use it as a tool to kind of draw in laymen. But I haven't seen any of that going on. And I mean, I've played with Unity, my apologies. But I can see that your platform has the same sort of power. Are there people doing that? Is it just that it's not being shown publicly because they think that it's IP or, the usual?
No, I think the first stage is applying a new technology to the problems that you're used to. And I think the next stage is what I'm trying to do with thought leadership is show that there's a shift happening. Digital twins, for example, abstract data is just as important as visual fidelity. So, that is definitely the way. We're working here in London with the Bartlett on a program to do robotic construction with Unreal. So visualization of the construction process and robots. UCL is in the middle of that. By the end of the year, I hope to be able to showing that. So those things are happening. With Cornell School of Architecture, we're launching an open project, again open source, and it'll allow you to do urban design in the engine, where you're working with parametric buildings. So you'll have parametric buildings. More for form evaluation or shape evaluation, massing. So visual appearance is not, it's an option, because at the end of the day, maybe you want to have that visual appearance, but you don't want to be limited by only working at that level, where you're still form finding. So the details get in the way, quite honestly. So that's another project that within 3 to 6 months we'll be rolling out, making available to everyone, to all schools, and you can start playing with that.
Yeah. So, cool. Thanks.
Yes? Mike's coming, right down here.
Hi, I'm James from Autodesk. You mentioned at the beginning of your pitch around Fortnite, and kind of some of the USPs for that game is the ability for 100 people, kids typically, to get together, play together, collaborate, chat, do all of that stuff in a real-time environment. And I think when you flip the picture away from architecture and start to look at construction, a lot of the stuff we struggle with is the visualization of massive data sets, safety, doing things remotely in groups and amongst people. And you also said, I noticed at the beginning, that Fortnite kind of surprised you. You're learning a lot of stuff, scale. How do you have a comment on where you're going with those kind of workflows in construction?
Yeah, so I think that we're just getting started, collaboration. I mean, we have things already built in, like I said, in the engine, that customers can build out their own collaboration solution based on our templates. So it's inherent to the product, but there's many ways of collaborating, right? It's not just one way. So we have like pixel streaming, where you put the engine up on the GPU, on the cloud, and you stream and interact with just that output. So now any browser, any device is instantly interacting over that stream network. So we wrote that up. That's our own streaming code that's in there. And people are using it to roll out new sales configurators. There's some projects that will be announced soon using it. So that's another way of collaborating, right? Breaking down the barriers and making the data very accessible. What you're seeing happen in Fortnite with chat, voice chat, commonly available, I mean, all of those things are problems in AEC. We know that, we get that. And, I'm not here to tell you the roadmap, but I'll tell you that we're aware that we can take those same things and apply them elsewhere. So be patient. Other questions?
Hi, is your aim to provide a toolkit mainly for ISVs to use your platform to develop applications to help architects, or is it going to be aimed at architects themselves to play around with Revit and then somehow use this engine on top of that, or?
So, yes, so Twinmotion is, for everyone. It's really intended for the architect and the designer. If you look at the interface, anyone can just jump into it and use it. Come check it out in our booth or download it yourself. So Unreal Engine is a more technically sophisticated tool, but with a lot more capabilities and no boundaries. So it's an open platform. We have vendors like Esri, right, that have integrated their solution, City Engine, with it. There's Mindesk, there's others. It's just, we've only been focusing out there for a year. What in 2 years will you have? Like to get the mic back.
Sorry, so do you have a partner program or some sort of ecosystem that allows you to join that development?
Yes, so we have, just come talk to me and we'll figure that out.